Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shvapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Laguna Mitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dena Bandho Jagatpate Gopeshu Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavane Shri Vrishabhanusite Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Pattanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaiti Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are beginning 18th chapter. So last week we concluded 17th chapter. Yeah. So last week was divisions of faith. We concluded the chapter divisions of faith, 17th chapter, where how different things fall in different modes was explained, like sacrifices, faith, all those things. So 18th chapter is this last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and it includes all the key principles taught in all the other chapters. Just like when you present a book, there is an introduction, there are chapters, and then there is conclusion, right? So similarly, the introduction is like the second chapter. Krishna introduced the idea of soul, idea of sthita prajna, what is liberation, all those concepts. And then they were explained in more detail in the later chapters. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, dhyana yoga, all those were explained. And now towards the end he came, so he will give the final lessons one should carry on in their life. So these are the most important principles taught. So towards the end, Krishna gives the most important instructions. So that is going to be available in this chapter. So it has multiple sections. We'll cover one or two sections today. Maybe the first section today. So this section is, how one should act with detachment, and how acting in detachment is actually true renunciation, and how such action will bring freedom from all reactions. So that is the subject.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. Second, we'll open the verses. Yeah. So text 1. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Vacha.
Sanyasasya Mahabaho.
Sanyasasya Mahabaho.
Tattvam Ichchami Veditum.
Tattvam Ichchami Veditam.
Yagasya cha Hrishikesha.
Yagasya cha Hrishikesha.
Pritakeshi Nishudana.
Pritakeshi Nishudana.
Anyone wants to read translation?
Okay, Prabhuji. O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the
Translation. Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa, O killer of the Kesi demon, master of the senses.
So now again, this chapter begins with Arjuna's question. So Arjuna wanted to understand what is the purpose of renunciation and what is renounced order. Sannyasa means renounced order. So these are two different things. Renunciation and renounced order. These are two. So one can be a renunciant. One can be renunciant means a person in the spirit of renunciation, but need not be actually in the dress of a sannyasi. So renounced order is an explicit order in which a person really explicitly changes his dress, or the order of sannyas life. But one need not be doing that to really. The real most important thing is renunciation, the attitude of renunciation. So we'll discuss when Lord Krishna explains in detail what this. So I want you to read some part in this. Yeah, can you read this whole paragraph, Mataji?
Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is finished in 17 chapters. The 18th chapter is a supplementary summarization of the topics discussed before. In every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna stresses that devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. The same point is summarized in the 18th chapter as the most confidential path of knowledge. In the first 6 chapters, stress was given to devotional service. Yoginam api sarvesham. Of all the yogis or transcendentalists, one who always thinks of me within himself is best. In the next 6 chapters, pure devotional service and its nature and activity were discussed. In the third 6 chapters, knowledge, renunciation, the activities of material nature and transcendental nature and devotional service were described. It was concluded that all acts should be performed in conjunction with the Supreme Lord, represented by the words Om Tat Sat, which indicate Vishnu, the Supreme Person. The third part of the Bhagavad Gita has shown that devotional service and nothing else is the ultimate purpose of life. This has been established by citing past acharyas and the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra. Certain impersonalists consider themselves to have a monopoly on the knowledge of Vedanta Sutra, but actually the Vedanta Sutra is meant for understanding devotional service. For the Lord himself is the composer of the Vedanta Sutra, and he is its knower. That is described in the 15th chapter. In every scripture, every Veda, devotional service is the objective. That is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So here is summary of all the chapters is given. In the first 6 chapters, the stress was in a way, so if 6th chapter talks about this verse, Yoginam Absarvesham, Madgate Nantaratmana. Of all the yogis, who is the best? The one who thinks of me. Me means Krishna. Within himself is the best. That is, the first 6 chapters. And the next 6 chapters, starting with chapter 7 to 12, that is pure devotion service. In the next 6 chapters, pure devotion service and its nature and activity, how one can perform. So all of those explained. In the last 6 chapters, which is like from chapter 13 to chapter 18, which includes the current chapter, this is like so once you learn devotion service, that is it. You need to know. Don't need to know anything more. But because we are in the material world, we have a material body. We have to live in this world. So we need to understand the nature of this material world, because you still need to operate in this world to achieve perfection. So that is why, like for example, the various modes were explained, because you need to know what is mode of goodness so that you can live in mode of goodness. You should not live in mode of passion and ignorance, right? So the nature of material nature, the nature of transcendental nature, so all those concepts were explained. So these are concepts that will help us to lead a pure life in this world. So that is the focus of the third section of the Bhagavad Gita. So there are three sections. First section ends with the of all the transcendentalists who always think of me is the best. Second is pure devotion service. Third is about the nature of the material world and how one can live in this world so that they can perfect their life. Right? So that is the whole summary in nutshell. Yeah. So as in the second chapter, a synopsis of the whole subject matter was described. Second chapter is like an abstract of the entire Gita. It introduces the concept of soul, sthita prajna, right? How one can perfect one's life. So that is the synopsis. And then 18th chapter is the summary. Right? So this chapter is a summary of all the important lessons. So this is a very, very important chapter. Summary of all instructions is given. The purpose of life is indicated to be renunciation and attainment of the transcendental position above the three modes of material nature. Arjuna wants to clarify the two distinct subjects, two distinct subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, namely renunciation and the renounced order. So he is asking the meaning of these two. Now Krishna will answer. Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Kamayanam karmanamnyasam
Yanam Nyasam
Sanyasam Kavayo Vidu
Sannyasam kavayo vidu
Vidu
Sarva Karma Phalatyagam
Tyagam
sarva
Sarva
karma
Karma
phalatyagam
Prahustyagam Vichakshana.
prahustyagam vikashna.
Uma Mataji, can you read?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities. Sorry, Prabhu. Okay, so the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasa, and giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyaga.
So the definition of sannyasa and tyaga, as asked by Arjuna, is given. So the giving up of activities that are based on material desire. Generally in this world, people perform work, various activities to fulfill their desires, right? Why you study, why you go to office? Most people do it not for pleasing Krishna, but for fulfilling their necessities, right? So to fulfill their material desires, material needs, you can say, right? So if one gives up, right, activities based on material desire, so that is called sannyasa, right? So generally sannyasa order people, they'll wear sannyas robes, we all know, and they won't be engaged in a office or a business. Their business is just simply serving God, serving humanity at large, right? So that is their goal. So that is renounced order of life. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise called renunciation. You may perform activities, you may perform business also, but if you are not desiring results of your activities, you may perform so many activities, but you don't desire results, right? You're not focused on the desire to have good results or bad results. Giving up results means whatever result comes, you never feel it is for me. I am servant of God and all the results are meant for the pleasure of God. That spirit is Tyaga. So, what do you think is most important? Is sannyasa more important or Tyaga more important? Anyone want to answer?
Tyaga.
Tyaga.
Tyaga, yeah. So, sannyasa should involve Tyaga. Without Tyaga, sannyasa is only dress. It is not really perfect sannyasa. But if somebody is a Tyagi, means he is not attached to results, right? He is only focused on duty but not results. Whatever is in his hand is duty, so he'll perform it. But the results are meant for satisfaction of God. If that is the spirit in which one acts, that is the true spirit of karma yoga. And if one performs like that, that is true Tyaga. If sannyasa is there without Tyaga, it is useless. Right? If Tyaga is there without sannyasa, that is still good. Sannyasa is only external detail. One need not really practice that order of life. You don't need to. So all of us as practitioners of Krishna consciousness, even if we don't take sannyasa, no problem at all. As long as you have the spirit of renunciation, which is the, you are not focused on fruitive mentality, or you are not focused on results. You are only focused on action. So that is Tyaga. Yeah, please read this.
The performance of activities for results has to be given up. This is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita. But activities leading to advanced spiritual knowledge are not to be given up. This will be made clear in the next verses. In the Vedic literature, there are many prescriptions of methods for performing sacrifice for some particular purpose. There are certain sacrifices to perform to attain a good son or to attain elevation to the higher planets. But sacrifices prompted by desires should be stopped. However, sacrifice for the purification of one's heart or for advancement in the spiritual science should not be given up.
So one should not perform various pujas, sacrifices, or any activity in general for attaining some material benefit, including the desire to attain higher planets. For example, some people like to go to higher planets, and so they perform certain sacrifices, right? So one should not do any of that. One should just focus on. So you perform an activity, the goal is purification of heart, right? The goal is purification of one's heart. Tyajyam dosha vadipkeka karma prahur manishina
Manishina
yajna dana tapa karma
karma
natyajyam iti chapare. Sagar Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty. Yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned.
So the acts of sacrifice, charity, penance should never be abandoned, right? So these things always bring auspiciousness. So charity, penance. But when you do charity, never think you are the doer, you are the giver, right? Because you come to this world with nothing. When you leave this world, you go with nothing.
Prabhuji, what is penance?
Penance means like performing some kind of austerity. Like on Ekadasi, some people do not eat any rice or any grains or dals. So that is a sacrifice. That's a penance. Penance means voluntary austerities, right? So voluntary austerities are telling Lord that I'm very serious about spiritual life. For example, in Krishna consciousness, we follow Ekadasis. On Ekadasi, we don't eat grains. There are other things we eat, but not grains. The idea is use more time for, instead of cooking, cleaning, washing, all those time that is spent in more chanting, more hearing, more reading books, scripture, spiritual books. So that is the idea behind the penance we perform. Or other penance could be one wakes up early in the morning every day to practice spiritual life, or maybe they have some habits of certain eating habits, or some any habits people have, if they can give up, which are not conducive to spiritual life, right? So those are all called penances. Charity means, so what you could have enjoyed for your benefit, instead you are giving that for others' benefit, right? You gave some money in donation to construct a temple or to a hospital, or there's so many things where you can perform charity, where you voluntarily give your money, time, anything for the benefit of other living entities, right? But again, charity has to be done in the right consciousness, just like penance also should be done in right consciousness. When you are giving charity, if your consciousness is, hey, I am the rich person, and by my mercy I am giving to others, that is charity in the mode of passion, right? And some people, if they give some charity, they want their names to be written in the temple, like that. So that is all for name, fame, prestige. That is not ideal charity. That will not lead to liberation. If you do some charity, in your mind thinking, God has given me this and I'm using in God's service. Just like one pours Ganga water in Ganga, by taking water first from Ganga, again pouring it in Ganga, one thinks that it is only given by God and I am only a trustee of this property, and because it is God's property, I need to use it in the service of God. And he is the doer, I am a non-doer. He deserves the credit, I don't deserve any credit. Right? So that is the spirit, true spirit. So which leads to liberation. If you do that, if you do in that spirit, you can give charity unlimitedly. So there is no karma binding such activity. And you will also feel light. You never feel, oh, I gave this much money, or oh, that person did not respect me even after giving me. You never feel, because you never felt it is yours. You are only you are working like a agent of God, right? Like a viceroy from British government, right? Viceroy would receive all the respects of the president of Britain or the head of Britain, king of Britain. But viceroy is only a representative in the country for the British government. He never thinks it is his, right? So similarly, if we all act in that spirit of trustee of the property of God and do use it for the best use in the service of God, then that is true charity. True charity in the mode of goodness. Sacrifice also. sacrifice can be done with the right consciousness, right? So sacrifice, if it is done for the only for the pleasure of God, that is sacrifice in the mode of goodness, and that will lead to liberation. Nischayam shrunu me tatra
निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र
yage bharata sattama
यागे भरतसत्तमा
yago hi purusha vyagra
यागो हि पुरुषव्याघ्र
Buddha samprakirtita.
त्रिविधा संप्रकीर्तिता
Yeah, please read. Archana Mataji.
O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds.
Yeah. So now Krishna is giving his take on renunciation. Let's hear what that is. Yajnadana tapah karma
यज्ञदाना तपः कर्म
tajyam karyameva tat
न त्याज्यं कार्यमेव तात
yajnodanam tapaschaiva
यज्ञदानं तपश्चैव
pavanani manishinam.
पावनानि मनीषिणाम्
Please read.
Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls.
So Krishna says these three things, the one that are described in the couple of verses before, they must be given, they must be done. Nobody should give them up, right? In the name of sannyasa, it doesn't mean one should give up these activities. Sacrifice should be performed, charity should be performed, penance should be performed. So they should be performed even by the liberated souls or great souls. Yeah, can you read here?
The yogis should perform acts for the advancement of human society. There are many purificatory processes for advancing a human being to spiritual life. The marriage ceremony, for example, is considered to be one of these sacrifices. It is called Vivaha Yajna. Should a sannyasi who is in the renounced order of life and who has given up his family relations encourage the marriage ceremony? The Lord says here that any sacrifice which is meant for human welfare should never be given up. Vivaha Yajna, the marriage ceremony, is meant to regulate the human mind so that it may become peaceful for spiritual advancement. For most men, the Vivaha Yajna should be encouraged even by persons in the renounced order of life.
Yeah, continue.
Sannyasis should never associate with women, but that does not mean that one who is in the lower stages of life, a young man, should not accept a wife in the marriage ceremony. All prescribed sacrifices are meant for achieving the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. So this is the Vedic culture. In the Vedic culture, there are so many purificatory processes. Right? These are called ceremonies. Right? So one is Vivaha Yajna. All of us are aware of this. It begins with Garbhadana Samskara. When the child is in the womb itself, that the Garbhadana Samskara is performed so that a pure soul will enter the body. And then from there, afterwards, Annaprasna is another samskara. and then Akshara Abhyasa is another ceremony or samskara. So samskaras are part of Vedic life, and after that there is Vivaha Yajna, right? So at every junction, important junction, there is a important samskara to be performed to remind oneself of God's position and their position. And also it's a purificatory process. By performing that, it will purify. So marriage is a necessity, Prabhupada mentioned, for most men or women. So that will lead to a good, orderly society, right? So this is all Vedic culture. In Vedic times, even the girl and boy would be married at a very young age. In today's world, people are not married until 28, 30, right? They're exposed to so many things in this meantime, right? So the Vedic culture is very scientific. The idea behind early marriage is, so first is, the child would get educated by a, teacher, especially in a Gurukula, where they are trained in samskaras and values of life and, scriptural knowledge about the purpose of life. And also they were trained in the specific material subjects they need to learn for their business. And then by 15 years, 16 years, the boy and, girl is, 10, the marriage would happen. So by this time itself, their idea of who is my husband, who is my wife is fixed. So there is no looking around, searching around for opposite sex. There is no, mind is peaceful. There is no more distraction. And then it doesn't mean they start their, they will be still continuing with their own parents until when they are, fully mature. And in the meantime, the girl and boy would meet each other during some festivals or in a formal way. It's so that, and the girl would serve the boy and boy would gift something to the girl. In this way, love would, so there is a kind of divine love that would be created between the two. And in a period of time, actual true love will be blossomed between the two, and they will again come together when they are independent, when they are, ready to stand by themselves and mature enough. Then actual life would start. So this is the Vedic marriage. Many people think, oh, Vedic marriages are all backward. They marry at a very young age. There is no opportunity to educate. It's all, it's the main idea is to keep the mind peaceful. Today says people get mature by 13, 14 years, boy or girl, and they get all these material desires, and they get they're vulnerable. They can do mistake anytime. So, and then they go on for 10 more years, 15 more years like that. So minds are not peaceful. But in the Vedic culture, they understood, okay, this has to be decided now, so that they don't look at it here and there. Their life is fixed. Who is my wife? Who is my husband? That is all fixed by age 15, 16, determined. And then they'll continue to do whatever business or education at their family, parents, once in a while meet. And finally, when they are mature enough, they'll come together to lead a family life. And they actually live in the family with their parents and grandparents as a combined family. So that is Vedic culture. And so they have full assurance. There is full support system. Everybody is there to support them, direct them. So there is nothing like Vedic culture. Okay. There is no comparison to Vedic culture to any of the Western way of living. Etani apitu karmani
एतानि कर्माणि
कर्माणि
Sangam tyaktva falani cha.
सङ्गं
Sangam
त्यक्त्वा
फलानि च
फलानि च
Kartavyani iti me partha.
कर्तव्यानि
कर्तव्यानि
मे
मे पार्थ
Nishchitam matamuttamam.
निश्चितं
निश्चितं
मतमुत्तमम्
मतमुत्तमम्.
Yeah, Shweta Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah,
All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Pritha. That is my final opinion.
Hmm. Yeah. So main point is any activity, any sacrifice, performance, austerity, penance, any of this, no expectation of result because result is not in our hand. So that is, you can perform any activity, but no expectation of, no fruitive mentality. Oh, I do this. Because what happens when you think of fruit? Okay. Oh, will I pass in my exam? Will I get my top grade? If that is the consideration in your mind, for example, even physically think about it, your focus is on the result. So your energy is consumed in thinking about the result instead of focusing on the act itself, right? You can give your 100% to your act, to the act, only if your mind is fully focused on the action, right? Not on the result. So it is always ideal to perform an activity without expectation of result. So how one should perform? As a matter of duty. Kartavyaniti me partha. Just done as a duty. Kartavya. Right? Oh, son of Pritha, that is my final opinion. Yeah. Please read, Mataji.
Although all sacrifices are purifying, one should not expect any result by such performances. In other words, all sacrifices which are meant for material advancement in life should be given up, but sacrifices that purify one's existence and elevate one to the spiritual plane should not be stopped.
Yeah. Sacrifices that purify one's existence and elevate one should never be given up. Niyatasyatu sanyasa
यतस्यातु
Niyatasyatu
सन्न्यासा
sannyasa
karmano nopapadyate
karmano
कर्मणोपपद्यते
nopavadyate
mohatasya parityagas
मोहात्तस्य
mohatasya
परित्यागः
parityagas
sa parikirtita.
तामसः
tamasa
परिकीर्तितः
parikirtita.
Please read. Varalakshmi Mataji.
Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If you are a mother in the home, you should never give up cooking. That is a prescribed duty. I mean, it doesn't mean that men should not help, but the home is generally managed by mom, right? Mother. So that is the prescribed duty. So similarly, a husband or male should earn money, right? So that is his duty. So those things should not be given up, right? If one gives up because of illusion, such renunciation is in the mode of ignorance. So if one gives up his duty of prescribed duty, I mean, if suppose somebody's health condition is not good, that is different. But if everything is good, still because of laziness or because of whatever conditions that one may artificially put oneself in, and because of which he gives up his work, Sometimes some people in the name of spirituality also give up their work. So that is not, that is actually renunciation in the mode of, you gave up, but that is giving up work in the mode of ignorance, renunciation in the mode of ignorance. That's not ideal. Yeah, please read. Continue.
Work for material satisfaction must be given up, but activities which promote one to spiritual activity, like cooking for the Supreme Lord and offering the food to the Lord and then accepting the food, are recommended. It is said that a person in the renounced order of life should not cook for himself. Cooking for oneself is prohibited, but cooking for the Supreme Lord is not prohibited.
Then cooking for oneself, one should not just cook for one's own satisfaction. But when you cook, you should always think this is for Lord, right? Anything you do, this is for Lord. This is for Lord. My Lord, this is for, may I perform this activity for your satisfaction, right? So you can make it a habit. From tomorrow, you can try this, right? Before you do any activity, may Lord, may I perform this activity for your satisfaction, whatever it is. You sleep for the same purpose. May I sleep so that I can perform activities for your satisfaction tomorrow, waking up in a fresh mind, right? So like that, you can perform every activity for satisfaction of God. That is perfection of life. When you chant also, don't just mechanically sit down to chant. May I chant for your pleasure, my Lord. May I chant for your pleasure. So when you educate your child, when you give time to someone, may I do this for your pleasure, not for my pleasure. Right? So that is the mindset one should have. Okay, so let's try that from tomorrow or today itself after the class. Dukkam iti eva yat karma. Kaya klesha bhayat chajet. Sakritva rajasam tyagam. Tyāga phalam labhet. Yeah. Siksha Mataji.
Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation.
Some people it's winter time, I cannot wake up early in the morning because it's very uncomfortable. So in that way, some do not perform their duties, right? So such, if your consideration is bodily discomfort, right? That is action, that is acting or renouncing. You renounced your duty, but that is renunciation in the mode of passion, right? So that will never lead to elevation of renunciation. Right? That means it will never purify you. Yeah, please read this.
One who is in Krishna consciousness should not give up earning money out of fear that he's performing fruitive activities. If by working one can engage his money in Krishna consciousness, or if by rising early in the morning one can advance his transcendental Krishna consciousness, one should not desist out of fear or because such activities are considered troublesome. Such renunciation is in the mode of passion. The result of passionate work is always miserable. If a person renounces work in that spirit, he never gets the results of renunciation. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so one should not give up thinking, oh, I'm earning money, that is fruitive mind. No, actually it is never to be given up. If you think that I'm performing this duty for satisfaction of God, that is true renunciation. If you give up such work, that is actually renouncing in the mode of passion. Karyam iti eva yat karma
Karyam
Yat karma
niyatam kriyate arjuna
niyatam
Kriyate
Arjuna
Arjuna
sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva
Sangam
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 Tyaktva
Tyakva
Phalam
Phalam Chaiva
tyaga satviko mata.
Satyaga
Satyaga
Satvik Mata.
Satviko
Mata.
Please read. O Arjuna,
O
O
Arjuna,
Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness.
you perform any activity, but you do it because it is my duty. Ought to be done. It has to be done. I have to rise early in the morning. I have to cook for the Lord. This is my duty towards my responsibility towards my parents. This is my responsibility towards my children. This is my responsibility towards my office. I am given so and so responsibility. I need to perform out of duty, out of responsibility, without consideration of fruit. Doing out of duty without attachment to the fruit. This is the ideal way of doing work, right? So such renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness, right? If you consider bodily discomfort, that is mode of passion. If you, this one, yeah. If not this, yeah. If one just gives up out of illusion, that is mode of ignorance. If one gives up because it is bodily discomfort, that is passion. If one performs, it is my duty, I have to do it, and I'm not attached to the result, that is the ideal way, that is mode of goodness. 3 verses. Yeah, please read this.
Prescribed duties must be performed within this mentality. One should act without attachment for the result. He should be dissociated from the modes of work. A man working in Krishna consciousness is in a factory does not associate himself with the work of the factory, nor with the workers of the factory. He simply works for Krishna. And when he gives up the result for Krishna, he is acting transcendentally.
So even one works in a factory with so many workers around him, his mind is thinking that I am working for Krishna. That's it. And so if I am working for Krishna, the result is also for Krishna. Even if you are working in a tire factory, for example, still such action is transcendental. It is as good as meditation because you have the right mind. You can be anything, you can do anything, but you think that it is for Krishna, it is transcendental. Nadveshti akushalam karma.
Nadveshti
Akushalam
Karma
karma
Karma.
Kushalena nusajjate.
Kushale Sajjate
Yagi sattva samavishto.
Tyagi sattva
Samavishto
Medhavi chinna samsaya.
Medhavi
Samsaya.
Please read.
The intelligent renouncer, situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work.
So the intelligent renouncer means the one who considers every act he does as a matter of duty without attachment to the fruits. Situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of the inauspicious work nor attached to the auspicious work, has no doubts about work. There is nothing auspicious work, inauspicious work. I can do this, I cannot do this, nothing. So he just has no doubts about work because he knows that every work is for Krishna's satisfaction. He just does it for as a sacrifice. Yeah, please read. Oh, this is very important.
A person in Krishna consciousness or in the mode of goodness does not hate anyone or anything which troubles his body. He does work in the proper place and at the proper time without fearing the troublesome effects of his duty. Such a person situated in transcendence should be understood to be most intelligent and beyond all doubts his activities.
So he's not considered about bodily trouble. He does work in the proper place at the proper time without fearing the troublesome effects of his duty. Such a person is situated in transcendence. Nahi deha bhrita sakyam
Nahi
Sakyam
Taktum karmani asheshata
Tyaktum karma visheshata
Yastu karma phalatyagi
Yastu
karma
karma
phalatyago
Satyagiti abhidhiyate.
Satyagiti abhidhiyate.
It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced.
Embodied means one with a body. We all have a body, right? The soul is there. There is subtle body and then gross body. Two embodiments: subtle body and gross body. So as long as you have a body, you must perform activity. There is no way one can give up activities, right? But he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who is truly renounced. The real renunciation is the one who renounces the fruits of action. Means one who gives up the desire to enjoy the fruit. That I have no desire to enjoy the fruit. That is the right mindset. So he is the one who is truly renounced. Yeah. Please read. This is a very important purport.
It is said in Bhagavad Gita that one can never give up work at any time. Therefore, he who works for Krishna and does not enjoy the fruitive results, who offers everything to Krishna, is actually a renouncer. There are many members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness who work very hard in their office or in factory or some other place, and whatever they earn, they give to the society. Such highly elevated souls are actually sannyasis and are situated in the renounced order of life. It is clearly outlined here how to renounce the fruits of work and for what purpose fruits should be renounced.
The idea of giving to society means they whatever they earn, whatever necessary they'll keep for themselves, and whatever is remaining that they can freely contribute, they can contribute to the betterment of Krishna conscious movement, because that Krishna conscious movement will only use that charity in the service of spreading Krishna consciousness to more and more living entities in this world, right? So that is the best cause. So if one can do that, that is the best, because whether you are working in a factory or in a shop or in an office, your spirit is to serve or spread Krishna consciousness and to be Krishna conscious. So that is better than sannyasa, order of life, because you have the true renunciation spirit or the tyaga. The last verse for the day. Anishtam ishtam mishram cha
Anishtam mishram cha
vidham karmana phalam
Devidam karmana phalam
Phalam
Pati Atyaginam Pretya
Bhavati
Bhagavati
Atyaginam
Adyaginam Pretya
Susanyasinam Kvachet.
Sanyasinam Kvachit.
Sanyasinam Pravachet.
Let me read. For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, the desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. For one who is not renounced, if somebody is not renounced, means he is still attached to the fruits. If you have some fruitive mentality, sometimes you may accumulate good karma, sometimes you will accumulate bad karma, sometimes a mix of both good and bad karma. So they all accrue after what? After death. So you accumulate this karma, and because you accumulated this karma, sanchit karma, you have to exhaust that as prarabdha karma in the next life. So in this life you accumulate, that's called sanchit karma. You are reacting with fruitive mentality. You would give charity with somebody with expecting that you will get something in return. Then God will give you another life where you get charity back. So this cycle will continue, sometimes with good results, sometimes with bad results, sometimes with mixed result. So all this will continue forever. So if you have renounced our spirit, we have nothing, no karma accumulated. So there is nothing to suffer, there is nothing to enjoy in this world. So that is the spirit. So we'll end the class. I have to attend another session right now.